Okay, so for my lesson plan, it's called Fraction Wars, and it's going to be for fourth graders. And the objective of this lesson plan is that students will be able to compare fractions with different numerators and denominators. So how I'm going to basically start this out is give a review of how we find which fractions are bigger than others, and also what signs we use. So the greater than sign, the less than sign, and the equal sign. So the materials that you're gonna need for this are, I made a little Fraction Wars worksheet for each student. You can print one out. I don't have a printer, so I just drew it, or you can have your students draw 3 columns. And then you're also just gonna need some scrap paper, whatever works, and then also some markers, pens, pencils. And then the last thing that you're gonna need are a Ziploc baggie with 10 pieces of paper in there. They each are numbered 1 through 10, and each student is going to need one of these. So how I would start off the review is basically there's multiple ways that students can figure out if a fraction is larger than another. So I know that students learn in different ways, so I'm going to let them choose however they want to do it. But I'll go over 2 ways that you could possibly do it. One is just looking at it visually. So for example, if we have 1/4 and then 1/2, they could draw it, fill it in, do the same with the other fraction, and they can clearly see that the 1/2 is bigger than the other one. And then the other way that they can do it is changing the denominator. So again, we have 1/2 and 1/4. And then for the 1/2, we're gonna make it to the 4, and then so you would times it by 2, times by 2, so it would give us 2/4. So then it would be 2/4 and 1/4, and then they could again see that the 2/4 is the bigger one. So I'll let them decide which way they want to do that. So basically how this is going to work is the students are going to get a partner, and then they can write like their name here, and then the other person's name here. And then, so they're each gonna have one of these. So how they're gonna start it is they're going to pick out 2 of these little pieces of paper. Okay, so the first student had a 2 and a 6. So I'm always gonna have them take the bigger number, and that's gonna be their denominator, and then the smaller number will be their numerator. So this person's gonna be 2/6, so then they can write in their column 2/6. And then the second student can grab their baggie and do the same thing. All right, so this one has a 3 and a 4. So again, the bigger number goes in the denominator and the smaller number goes in the numerator. So this person has 3/4. Another thing to mention is that the objective of this activity is that they do it with different denominators. So if they both get a 6 or they both get a 4 or something like that, make sure their denominators are different. So the next step is that they're going to take their scrap piece of paper, they can just put these off to the side, and they're going to choose their method that they want to use. So I'm going to show the visual method where they draw it, but they can do whichever they want. They can do rectangles, circles, squares. I'm going to do circles because it's the easiest. And then another thing to mention to your students as well is have them make the circles the same size, because if one is like way bigger and the other one's super small and they're trying to like divide them up and then see which one's bigger, they're not going to be able to, it might be harder for them to visualize it. So just try to make them the same size. If they have trouble dividing it up, you can have them raise their hand and you can come over and just help them out. So the first fraction, I'm gonna write 2/6 on this side and then 3/4 on this side. And the first step is they're gonna look at their denominator and they're gonna see that it's a 6, so that means the circle is going to get divided into 6 equal parts. And then the same thing on the other side, but with a 4. And then I am going to get a new marker to show the shading. So this one has a 2 in the numerator, which means we're going to shade in 2 out of the 6 parts. So 1, 2. And then this one has 3 in the numerator, so we're going to circle or shade in 3 out of 4. And then after looking at this, you can see that the 3/4 has more shaded in than the 2/6, so the 3/4 is bigger. So then this is when they go back to their Fraction Wars worksheet. Remember the symbols that we're gonna use to put in the middle here. They're gonna look at that and then they're gonna decide. So going back to our drawing, the 3/4 was bigger. So that means we're gonna choose the sign that shows that the 3/4 is bigger, and they're gonna put that in the middle. And they're just gonna repeat that. They can put these pieces of paper back in their Ziploc baggies and do this process over again, making sure that the denominators are always different. And they can do that a couple more times just to fill up the Fraction Wars worksheet.